Morning folks, continuing with a bit of Meccano more than steam. Day off today. It's absolutely vile outside as it has been since before Christmas, I suppose. Supposed to have had some snow today, but we haven't, which is a shame because the Land Rover was itching to get some snow this year. So we're indoors as usual, and I thought we'd have a look at some of the kits I've got hold of the last few months. We'll start with the smallest ones I've got, which is these Maxi Kits. Been around for a while, quite a while now. Bought from Aldi a month or so back. It might have been before Christmas actually. £5.99 each, which, you know, everybody likes a bargain. Aldi's pretty good for bargains. These are about retail price, but I thought, well, if they sell well, maybe they'll get the bigger sets in. Nothing's happened yet, although I haven't seen any for hanging around for about a month or so. I think they have sold. Anyway, so what we've got the Buggy kit, 50 parts, and those that know me will probably realise I'm not too keen about bending these strips here, because I'm not one for bending plates, at least not like that, unless they're the very soft flexible ones. Then we got the motorbike kit, which I do rather like, being I was a biker at one time before I part-exed it to get my first Land Rover. Maybe again. So you'll notice I've pinched two of the plastic spacers out of that set. That's on the mech one, supporting the brackets for the fuel tank, the gas tank on the mech one. Then we've got the forklift truck. That's quite a smart looking little model, that is, for its size. And lastly, the mini excavator kit. It is quite a smart looking little machine. Now these models probably won't stay together, as most of them that I do tend to do. Space is an issue, let's say that. So, although these will fit anywhere on a shelf, the parts will come in useful, I dare say, in future. I'll keep the instructions and everything with all the other books I've got for over the years, and any time you fancy building them, then you can. So we'll get on with them. We'll start with this buggy, and we'll have a look at the strips, and we'll see how we get on. So folks, this is what you get in the box. You get the box, of course, bag of parts, very clear instruction leaflet, which I suppose is easy to do when you've only got such a small model. Obviously you've got a picture of the model itself, and then stages, much like many other construction kits. And as you can see there, it's very very clear. Bag of parts. I suppose at £5.99, if you had to buy all those parts, it'd cost you a lot more. So let's open the bag, and then we'll see what we've got. I'll just move the booklet out the way for now, so we don't lose anything on the floor. So straight away we've got an Allen key, of course. Been Allen bolts for about, I don't know, 20 odd years now, instead of slotted. We've got a spanner. Now that's handy. An end-on spanner. I haven't got one of those, so I have now, so that's good. It says something there. It's got a date, 5th of August 2013. So, several small parts, thin strips, and looking at these, they are the easily twistable ones. And probably about half the thickness of a normal Meccano narrow strip, which we have an example of here. There we are, yeah. And I bet they're in plastic. I have used them before. Just find a magnet. No, they are metal. The magnet was the fridge door. So move the old bag out of the way. So we've got a few, you might call, well, I would call special parts, but I dare say others won't. I mean, these tyres, for example, they look rather like Scalextric tyres, Scalextric cars, or something like the old Minis, 1275 GTs. And these curved plates here, because it's all compatible, and they'll find a use elsewhere, I dare say. Here we have the what I call the newfangled nuts, the easy starts. They're rounded off on the edges, and they've also got slightly beveled starts to the threads, which makes them easy to start on the thread of the bolt. However, I hate them because there are times when you're making something a little bit awkward, and it's more by luck than anything else that the actual nut will grip without using a spanner. These never do. Maybe because they're a bit new and shiny, I suppose. Right, we'll get on with the build. We won't take too long. We're going to use snapshots, and then you can play it and watch it in stages as it builds up. Unfortunately, no animation on this camera, like a very old one I used to have, which would have been a bit of fun if time consuming. So just bear with me and we'll have a bit of a play. And there you go, folks, that's the buggy done. It took about an hour, just over. That includes videoing, swapping the video, putting this SLR on, taking several shots and seeing what the light's like and all that, and swapping back to video, laying out the parts, taking shots of the different stages and all that. So quite easy. And yes, I did come out in a rash when I twisted these to go into that bolt there. But they should just spring out. It's quite springy. You'd never do it with the original narrow strips. They would never be straight again. So there we are. That is number 1 of 4. Runs very freely. Nice basic little bit of detail is the seat. Nice little use of a narrow angle bracket and a 1 inch by ½ inch standard angle bracket, really. So not too fiddly at all. No problems with actually gearing at any bolts or nuts, and it goes great, lovely and free. Next up, we'll have a go with the excavator. Here's the excavator. That's the second model. Quite nice looking. A little bit more fiddly to do. Nothing too major. Just big hands, small parts, small spaces. One thing I've noticed, if you want to be really picky about it, if you look at the front, you will see there that the shovel part is slightly to, as you look at it from the front, to the left, obviously to the right from the driver's point of view. To get round this, you might just be able to put a slightly longer bolt in at the pivot point behind and add 2 washers, but the space is quite tight, to be honest, so you may not be able to do that, which is probably why it is as it is. That ain't so much of a problem or an issue, but what is a bit of an issue is when you look side on, and if I hold it up slightly, you will see that the shovel protrudes well below the track. Thus you can't push it. I'll just move out this foam tray onto the bench. It's quite a struggle. You can do it if you bear down on it slightly, and I suppose that's all right on a hard surface. It's not too bad, but obviously you're playing on a carpet. I mean, you know, kids are kids. It is a bit more fiddly. I think it'll be all right. What I would suggest doing, if it was a bit of an issue, is swap the obtuse angled bracket there, angled fish plate there, I should say, obtuse fish plate. Turn it the other way around so the slot is at the fixing point there and the normal hole is there, and then adjust that slot up and down slightly. Give you a bit of adjustment there. But a nice looking model, and it's okay. The tracks are really smart actually. So there we are. That's number 2 done, and we'll move on to number 3, which will be the motorbike. So on to the Motorbike Maxi Kit. I do like the look of this one. I like the night. There's just a little bit of enough detail there to make it a little bit more of a model, I suppose. But similar parts, of course, the other 2 kits so far. A few different ones, which you can see in the picture there. These angled strips here, and the what seems to be yes, looking at the forklift. A common part to all the sets of these curved plates there, different colour of course. Spanner. I did have an issue, I say an issue, with one nut and bolt. I forgot to mention this on the last model, Excavator. It was a struggle to tighten up damaged thread on one or the other, but a bit of force and I managed to cut its own thread again. That's alright for us, I suppose. If I couldn't have done that, I have actually got some spares. There's a few spare nuts and bolts in the kit so far, but I could just grab another nut and bolt. If this is somebody's first kit, the band to lose a nut and bolt, they ain't got no spares, that's a bit of an issue. Okay, probably doesn't happen very often. I suppose looking at the nuts and bolts I've got here, it's about a 1 in 50, 1 in 100 chance at the moment. Sheer bad luck, I suppose. But it is nice that we do have a few spare little parts, not a lot, that is included. So there we are. I say I forgot to mention that on the last model. So we'll get on with the motorbike. So there we go, folks, with number 3, the motorbike. Very nice looking model, I must admit. The colours, especially of the rear mudguard, remind me of Triumph Thunderbirds and Speed Twin bathtub models. Nice looking model. I think it's going to be the most fiddly. I haven't looked at the forklift yet, but it has the potential to be the most fiddly to do. Constraints of space. It is a small model. But as you can see, it's quite compact in there. Now, although I like this model, I like the look of the model, I don't like the front pivot. If you look at the front pivot, and looking at the box, it's right. I've tried several ways to put that together. If you notice, the bolt doesn't reach this side. It has a black spacer, black plastic spacer, you can just see there. The pulley wheel, which is not quite the same as original pulley wheels, because if you like, the boss of the pulley wheel, the moulding, you can just see there, that side, sticks out a bit further. There's a nut inside there, and it does roll, as you can see, it rolls. Rolls okay. the front tyre and wheel is a little wonky compared to, well, the back is wonky, but it doesn't seem to worry that one, probably because it's got a wider tread. And really, that front one needs a washer each side and a slightly longer bolt, to be honest. Washer each side of the pulley there that makes the wheel hub, if you like. Possibly a couple this side looking at it, and a slightly longer bolt, because even if you remove the spacers, the forks would then rub against the tyre, unfortunately. So I wouldn't be too happy with it, I suppose, if I bought it. It's one of the things, oh, it's not very good. It'll do, but it's not very good. So if I was going to keep the model together, I would definitely alter that with the longer bolt as the main thing, and using metal washers to get the correct spacings. As far as I can tell, I've been through it a few times and checking. It is difficult to see which way that pulley goes round. But if I turn it round the other way, the wheel round the other way, with the extra bit of boss, it'll be even wider on the spacing and force the forks apart even more, as you can see. This structure up here does have a tendency, when you tighten it up, to pinch the forks in. Maybe that would be better on the outside, the fork mountings on the outside. Then you might have issues with the handlebars not fitting into the back of the light, or the headstock on the real thing, I suppose. There. A nice looking model. It's a shame the front pivot for the wheel isn't, well, predominantly could be a bit longer. The back is the same, but it's just long enough on the back to hold nicely. There's plenty of play on the back wheel anyway, but the front does need sorting out. So the last one coming up, which is the forklift. Right then folks, the last model, the forklift kit. It's got 70 plus parts. The only one that beats that for amount of parts is the motorbike, which is 80 plus. The other two are 50 plus. As you have now come to know as familiar, the little booklet with the instructions and picture of the forklift. Of course, you can use the box as well. We've got a few different parts in this set. On looks, I know it says he's got slightly less than the motorbike, but on looks, this looks the most value for money kit on looks, and probably in real terms, because of a few extra parts, more expensive parts. Instead of narrow strips, or not so many narrow strips, we've got these curved strips here, two of those, and the 1 2.5 inch 5-hole strip there, standard. We've also got this plate here, curved plate, and the wheels are better. They're quite hard plastic, those. I remember them from years back, probably 1980s I should think. It's also the first set to have any axles, and they're round ones, not triaxle. And to hold those in place, although I haven't looked at the instruction book yet, I'm pretty sure, these small white, or almost white, rubbery collars, we'll call them, acting like a bit of a rubber band, as would a collar, or indeed a spring clip would have done the same thing, holding the axles on in place, or the wheels on the axles. But we'll come to that in a bit. Now, I've just realised that there's a slight buzzing on the video. This isn't the camera. I'll have to do something about it next time. It's the fridge. I think it's starting to get past its sell-by date, as it were. So I apologise for that, and I'll do something about that next time. So, on with the last build. So folks, at long last, you're probably saying, here's the last model, all completed. The forklift truck at first glance it looks quite complicated, but it's not. Or I say complicated, fiddly I suppose is a better word. The only thing that is fiddly really is fitting that bolt in there, but fortunately, sorry, the nut in there, fortunately with the sort of end-on spanner you can do it. Failing that, you put it on that bracket before we put this together, which would have probably been better anyway. So as you can see, it's finished. I had a funny feeling I had one years ago like this, but the curved strips there, they're throwing me a bit. And to be honest, from a operating point of view, this is probably the worst model. If you look on the box picture, it will show there's quite a gap between the fork and the front wheel, but as you can see, there isn't a gap. There ain't much of a gap at all. You can still wheel it, but you can hear it does catch on the wheels. I've checked and checked and checked the build, I've checked the pictures and everything. It is built correctly. I've had to bend the or adjust the curved strips down a bit, but of course you can't go too far anti-clockwise as we look at it, because then these wheels hit the back. I doubt myself, but I'm going to check that. Check it again. Oh, it's right. I was wondering whether I should put the spacer that's on the underneath the back plate there. On the instructions, it does go underneath. But I'm thinking probably a better solution. I say it does work. Would be to put the plate on top of the two spacers underneath the bracket, allowing a bit more room to tilt the curved strips down and more clearance. Or I suppose you could move those wheels and axle over to the next hole, but then it would look a bit odd then, I suppose. So there's certain models I often wonder, and the Evolution ones are or have been a little bit problematical, or at least a couple of them have, with a couple of errors in the build. I wonder whether Meccano actually build their models, and I'll probably design them on a computer program like Virtual Mech, I suppose. But do they actually build them before they box them up and sell them? I don't know. You'd think they would. Anyway, there you are. That's the fourth model. A pleasant looking model. It is usable as it is, but the wheels do catch. So there we are, all the four Maxi Kit models together. On the left the Buggy, then the Excavator, the Motorbike and the Forklift. I think for me personally the best looking one is probably the Motorbike, although they're all pretty good looking. The easiest one to make, the Buggy. Not that any of them were difficult, and there was a couple of fiddly bits on one or two. The best in terms of actual playing without any issues, anything catching or anything like that, is the Buggy. The thing that lets the Buggy down really is nothing really. It's only me and the twisting of those two strips, which I don't like. But it is a good working little model. The thing that lets the bike down is indeed the front tyre I mentioned before, and on the Excavator the catching of the actual shovel, and as I said just a minute ago, the wheels catching on the back of the forks on the forklift is really the worst issue of all of them. So consumer advice time, I suppose. If you're going to buy just one, buy the Buggy. If you're going to buy any of them for parts, the bike or the forklift. But they are quite smart little models, all in their own right, with just a couple of little problems on a couple of them, 2 or 3. So there you are, folks. Hope you enjoyed that. It's probably a bit longer than I thought, so I'll work on that, and I'll work on the fridge buzzing Thanks for that. Bye for now.